Hey folks, Valentin the Mad here with something a bit different. The Purge is a very cool movie concept, and the second film, in my opinion, portrayed it best. So I had the start of the Purge concept in a game form for a while, and in this video I'll share my thoughts on how that could potentially be done. For the video side of it, I'll be using screens of IMDb from the first two installments, as well as gameplay footage from Ped Riot Chaos mode for GTA 5. Not directly a Purge experience, but currently I think it is about as close as we have. I'll begin with the game modes that I think would be appropriate for this, as well as several factors that are quite important. So, the most basic, the most Purge game mode that comes to mind is just a free-for-all in a large open location. There are several important factors to make it work and stand out. First up, the map absolutely has to be decently large for whatever the player count may be. A Counter-Strike or Insurgency-sized map, for example, would make it just a basic meat grinder. That can be kinda fun, but to really deliver a suspenseful experience, there has to be a proper size to the locations. You gotta have essentially a hunter-hunted experience. The locations are large, and danger can lurk behind any tree, behind any corner. You might spot someone and choose to hunt them down, but in a different instance, you are the one to be spotted, and you are taking fire without any clear cue to where from. Now there should be hotspots with some appeal, something to draw players in, where you could generally expect some action, but outside of those, the location should be large enough to deliver that very open, very suspenseful hunter-hunted experience. Another massively important one for this mode is to not push or even in any way nudge the player in any direction, as in how to act. Just like in the Purge itself, you aren't forced to harm anyone, they will just get suspended and you are free to do what you will. So, if the players decide to meet up in a hotspot and sing together about peace and love, they should absolutely be free to do it. On that note, local VoIP would be quite important. A possible feature I can think of is hostile NPCs in the form of government hit squads or gangs, as seen in the second movie. For me it's a maybe. On one hand, it would be interesting to see where players would take the experience if they're just left alone, but on the other hand, a mutual enemy that will always be hostile, be a real threat, could change the dynamics and spice the experience up. So, I am curious, what is your take on this one? Let me know in the comments. Additional factors would be customization and looting. The former, I think nowadays is very overused in games where in my opinion it isn't a great fit, however, with the movie's theme it would be perfect. So, for combat gear and firearms, perhaps a point system like in Insurgency would be a good fit, and many customization options for the visual side of your character as well. Despite not nudging the player in any direction, there should be a consequence to dying, and that could be respawning unarmed and unarmored in regular clothes. Basically, losing all the fancy stuff you had, and getting your means for self-defense from the characters that are laying around. I do want to note location types too. The Purge is happening all over the US, so you could have maps in urban locations, suburbs or rural areas, perhaps some even around famous US landmarks. So, lots of potential for variety in this aspect. The next mode that comes to mind would be kind of based on the previous one, but oriented towards the survival single-player or co-op experience. You spawn somewhere in the large map and you have to get somewhere far away. That could be a safe location, it could be escaping the city, it could be doing a task somewhere and then escape. A key difference would be that the locations are filled with largely hostile NPCs who are looking to purge. The idea is not to make the player defenseless, like in some of the horror games, but rather make the player be outnumbered. So, if you want to do a solo or co-op run and see how long you can survive, purge the purgers, sure, you can enjoy that and I absolutely would, but if you want to complete the objective, engaging every hostile NPC you encounter would probably not be a great idea. A thing that could fit this mode is random events and encounters, giving you the option to help NPCs. It could earn you a bot companion, or the cry for help could be a trap. The last mode that comes to mind is single player or co-op home defense. This one is of course based on the first movie. For whatever reason, some people really dislike you and are quite committed to getting you, so you gotta survive. Destruction, particularly interior destruction and aftermath, could be a cool factor here. You begin with a nice clean house, and as the fight goes on, it gets stained with blood, filled with bodies, all of which should stay, and with the various household objects, furniture, and hopefully walls getting destroyed. A few more important factors for all of it. Atmosphere is obviously a very big one. The movies portrayed the very sinister feel of the event quite well, so getting that right is crucially important. Also, any level could begin at a different time, so aside from the lighting change, the locations themselves could vary somewhat based on how long into the Purge the round begins. Another huge one that I can't emphasize enough is little to no UI. I've seen so many games with very immersive looking in-engine trailers that legitimately look amazing, and then it cuts to the real, actual gameplay with a ton of crap flashing your screen. Indicators for when you make a hit, plus X amount of points for kill, assist, here's a medal, achievement, power-up, whatever, here's the exact direction you are taking fire from, here's a bunch of stuff highlighted, either glowing or there's a orange or purple outline. So, all of that does a wonderful job of butchering whatever immersion you could have had. Now there could be a button to temporarily bring up some cues as to what you're supposed to be doing, a button for a map, but the point is that those are all temporary cues, and most of the time the screen would be clear and free from any indicators. From what I saw, for that to really work, a game has to be designed for minimal to no UI from the ground up. In most games, you can usually disable particularly annoying UI elements, but disabling all of them is rarely a real option since the game was designed around having those on. Another very important one is a decently realistic damage model with consequences to injuries. Imagine you got all that was mentioned previously, and when combat begins, characters can just tank damage with no consequence whatsoever to getting shot. That would be an issue. So, just how detailed and realistic the damage model would be can vary, but a direct headshot should be lights out, and hits on the rest of the body should have consequences, with slow down injured movement and a disabled state with the character lying in pain on the ground, with neither of those requiring too many hits. And lastly, you gotta have the visual feedback for all of that, with wounds on the characters and blood on the environment. I have a video on the mechanics needed to deliver a basic, solid gritty response, and of course, there are many ways to go beyond that. I covered many examples here on the channel, with small indie titles as well as AAA games delivering just amazing stuff. So, that is what I have in mind for a Purge themed game. Do let me know what you think, what you would add, and if you like the ideas, be sure to share this video around wherever that may be appropriate and initiate discussion. Also, subscribe, there are more videos discussing gameplay ideas coming in the near future. Another way to support the channel is the Bielakonenka artwork store. Not a sponsorship, the artist is my mom and I'm handling the fulfillment. So you can get cool art, prints, mugs, and you get the package itself directly from me. Plus, more paintings are being added, so the selection is expanding. Be sure to check it out, link is in the description, and get a cool gift for yourself or a loved one. I'll see y'all next time.